Hey everybody, and welcome to a video on the Constructive Criticism YouTube channel. I'm Spencer, host of Constructive Criticism and Limited Time Only, two podcasts about getting better at Magic the Gathering. Today is Wednesday Night Warrior. It's a video where I talk about whatever I want. It's my weekly video series where I'm just going to talk about stuff in Magic. And yesterday I played a PPTQ. I had a lot of fun. My deck was really good. I unfortunately did not do as well as I think my deck was. I think my deck was really good. But I had an interesting thing happen yesterday that kind of prompted me to want to do a video on it. So I think it was like round 3. It was either round 2 or 3. My opponent and I are both had at least lost one match. My opponent sits down and just immediately starts complaining about his previous round and how unlucky he got. He mulled a 6, then mulled a 5, and just was pretty upset about it. And then he draws his opening hand and kind of throws it back and just, I'm so unlucky, shuffle, 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 looks at his hand after he mulligans, throws it on the table, and it's just like, man, whatever, I'll keep. And he keeps it, and Obi's in the background, by the way, and, proceeds to not play a spell until turn 5, and just made the match kind of unfun. And it's rough. It was a rough time. But I did a few things that I think are pretty important. And so today what I want to talk about is kind of how to handle salty opponents. Because while I did some things well, I also think I did some things wrong. And I want to bring myself to a realization of how I can improve, and also just talk to people about, like, how do you deal with these salty players. So the first thing that I think is really important is to kill them with kindness. Like, just be kind to them. Like, they're clearly not having as much fun as they could be having in such a fun game. Just be nice to them. I think that being an example of these players that, you can just be kind to a person even when they're kind of making your match miserable is important, because, I think it makes their match better, and it can change the match from being this horrible experience that you're being forced through with a person that's being kind of treating the game as like their spectacle rather than a game between two people. Being an example of how to be kind to them and just be a cordial opponent can kind of shift that. I think it's the first way that you can go from having a salty opponent into somebody more reasonable. And I think that the other thing that you need to do in these situations is make sure that you're playing a clean game. Because nothing's going to upset you more than when they start, like, calling you out on stuff or, stuff like that. And so making sure that you're playing a clean game and being very communicative with your opponent, and, having clear and very good communication is actually really going to help, because it makes the game easier for them. And easier for you to make sure that communication line is open and clear. And even if they're not talking, like maybe their salt is they're not talking, make sure that you are communicating as clearly as possible with these. You should do this with all of your opponents, but I want to emphasize it here because unclear communication is going to make their time worse, and then in return they're going to make your time worse. And then the next thing is, don't engage in their poor behavior. This is something that I really, really have struggled with in the past. I've had salty opponents who complain about having... this literally... this happened to me twice yesterday where... and I did a good job at the end of the event. But, like, opponents will be, like, talking about how flooded they are. And oftentimes it's like, dude, we're both flooded. Like, it's turn 11. We drew... almost half our lands is deck, so we almost drew half the lands in our deck. Like, it's not even really flooded. Like, that is the communication that you could make, but I say just don't. Like, don't engage in it. It's like, oh man, okay. Can I go? Is it my turn? Like, I think that is the right way to go about it, right? Where you're not taking this thing that they're putting on this table, right? They're presenting an opportunity to argue with them about how unlucky they are, or for you to acknowledge how unlucky they are, or how bad this tournament is, or whatever they're doing. Just don't engage in it. Just play the game of Magic that's in front of you, and I think that it will give you another chance. Kind of like I said, we want to make chances to turn this around so that we have a better time. I think that just playing the game gives you that chance to have a good game rather than engaging in the poor behavior. Um, and then try and enjoy yourself. Like, you know, maybe like if you're like me, your goal is to play good Magic, right? It doesn't matter if my opponent's salty for me to play good Magic. I can just try and do that and enjoy the opportunity that I get to play another match of Magic and and play the best Magic that I can. And while it does sometimes feel like they're trying to take that opportunity away from me by making my experience miserable, it's my job to have a good time, and I'm gonna try and do that. I'm gonna try and have that good time, even though this player may or may not be making it easy for me. Uh, one of the last things is one that I kind of dislike having to talk about. But I say if you win, don't offer the handshake to these players. It kind of sucks because I think that it just doesn't matter who offers the handshake. But I think that that gives them an opportunity to hold you hostage a little bit longer during the match slip process. So I just wouldn't. If they want to offer it when they lose, that's awesome, and you should definitely shake it. Even if they were mean to you, if they offer that handshake, you definitely should. But I wouldn't be offering it if you won, just because the match slip process is already going to be a little bit awkward due to the fact that they've made the match so awkward. And they're going to want to continue to complain to you. And if you offer the handshake, it just gives them another opportunity. And we want to, like I said, create opportunities to have a good experience rather than giving them opportunities to continue that poor behavior. And the last thing, and this is something that I did do poorly yesterday, is move on. I did send out a tweet on how miserable my experience was. And while that's true, and it was really crappy, I probably could have just not said anything. It's hard. It's hard when somebody, and what I said is true. I felt like a hostage in this situation where I had to engage with this person that was making my Magic experience pretty miserable. And it took them like 2 minutes to sign the match slip after already making the match not very fun for me. And I needed to be better about just moving on, being like, all right, well that's over. Good thing that's over. Let's move on. Let's go to the next thing. It's something that I could have done better yesterday, and I think that it's important because, like, you don't want that feeling to be lingering with you throughout the rest of your event. So just getting over it and going on to your next match and trying to enjoy your next one is really important. And my next match actually was really fun. I had a really good time with my next opponent. So in that case, I did well. It was just that tweet that I wish that I could have taken back. So, that's it. I hope that we can all do this, right? And we can, if we all do it, right, then there's just no bad matches. Like, because we're all trying to be those good opponents. So, thank you everybody for watching. Don't forget to check out patreon.com/ccmtg, patreon.com/easygamemedia to support this content. You can also check out puremtgo.com where these Wednesday Warrior videos are posted. Check out other awesome Magic content. So, thank you everybody so much, and we'll see you guys all next week.